Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Welcome to Vedic Heritage. In this episode, we will explore the meaning of verse 6 of the Argala Stotram. This verse mentions the stories of Asuras, Raktabeeja, Chanda and Munda. In the earlier episode, we saw the story where Devi had destroyed Dhumralochana with just one sound of hum and had decimated the 60,000 soldiers who had accompanied him too. On hearing of this defeat, the furious Shumba then beckoned his commanders Chanda and Munda to go fight with Devi, bind her and drag her back by her hair. And if that were not possible, they were to kill her and her lion which had created havoc among his armies. The goddess smiled on seeing Chanda and Munda. Then her smile turned into an angry frown. The fair smiling Ambika Devi turned into an angry Chandika. She turned black with rage, and out of the frown and anger burst forth the dark-skinned and horrifying Kali. Dark as night and terrifying in looks, this bony, skeletal Devi had drooping breasts and hollowed out cheeks, sunken red eyes, lolling tongue, and a large mouth loudly roaring in anger. With 4 bony hands and a garland of skulls, she rushed towards them. She held a noose and a sword and a khatvanga, a staff with a skull on top of it. Many warriors just died out of fear. She tore through the terrified army, elephants and their riders holding their goads, warriors, their weapons, bells and chariots, all went into her large mouth. She chopped some heads off with her sword, crushed others with her staff, and tore others apart by her teeth, grinding them. She decimated the army in no time. Then Chanda rained 1,000 arrows. Munda hurled chakras at her. They disappeared into her gaping mouth like clouds in the dark sky. She then cut Chanda's head with a sword. When Munda rushed to tackle her, she struck him with her spear. Holding their heads in her hands, she presented them to Chandika Devi, promising the same fate for Shumba and Nishumba brothers as well. Pleased with her feat, Chandika Devi named Kali Chamunda, slayer of Chanda and Munda. On hearing of the defeat of Chanda and Munda, Shumba and Nishumba garnered all the Asuras and Daityas of various lineages to come battle the Devi. On seeing them, Chandika Devi filled the sky with the resonance of her bowstring. Her lion let out a deafening roar. And she loudly sounded her bell. Kali then drowned all these sounds with her terrifying roar. Hearing this, the Asura army surrounded the Devi and Ma Kali. Goddess Chamunda, being the Shakti of all the gods, manifested in each form of Shakti as a Matrika, Mother Goddess, to vanquish the Asura army. As Maheshwari from Shiva, Brahmani from Brahma, Varahi from Varaha, Narasimhi from Narasimha, Aindri from Indra, Vaishnavi from Vishnu, Kaumari from Skanda. And lastly, out of Ambika Devi herself arose her own terrifying force, a fierce Chandika, howling like 1,000 jackals. Now Devi Chandika, along with Kali and the Matrikas, was ready for battle. But she first asked Lord Shiva to go as her emissary, asking for the Asura brothers to consider retreating to Patala Loka instead of getting completely routed by her. Having sent Shiva as her messenger, or Duta, she is also called Shiva Duti. But the Asuras refused to comply and rushed to battle. As Maheshwari, she pierced with her trident. As Aindri, she scorched with her Vajra, the lightning bolt. As Varahi, she tore them with her tusks. As Narasimhi, with her nails and fangs. And as Kaumari, with her spear. and as Vaishnavi, she slayed with her discus, and as Brahmani, she sprinkled holy water to sap the energy of the Asuras. As the soldiers ran in chaos, Shumbha's trusted commander Raktabeeja came forth to stop this slaughter. The 8th chapter of Devi Mahatmyam focuses on Raktabeeja Vat, the vanquishing of Raktabeeja. Raktabeeja was the reincarnation of Asura Ramba, the father of Mahishasura. Raktabeeja had a powerful boon that whenever a drop of his blood fell on the ground, another Raktabeeja would be born at that spot. Rakta means blood and Bija is seed, he for whom each drop of blood is a seed. Raktabeeja now fought against the goddess in all her various forms. But every time he was wounded, more Raktabeejas would rise from every drop of blood that fell to the ground. With every cut from the Matrika's weapons, more blood flowed and thousands of Raktabeejas emerged. Seeing this, the gods were perplexed and worried, but Ma Chandika only smiled. She instructed Kali to drink every drop of blood spilling out of Raktabeeja. While the other goddesses focused on wounding Raktabeeja, Kali was also instructed to devour the millions of duplicates already in the field. Ultimately, bereft of any more blood, Raktabeeja was annihilated. Raktabeeja vadhe Devi, Chanda Munda vinashini, Rupan dehi jayan dehi, Yesho dehi dvisho jahi. Raktabeeja vadhe Devi, Chanda Munda vinashini, one who slayed the Asura Raktabeeja and who destroyed the Asuras Chanda and Munda. Rupan dehi jayan dehi, Yesho dehi dvisho jahi. O Devi, please grant me good form, victory and glory, both material and spiritual. Please destroy my enemies, both internal and external. Now let us understand the symbolism of this story. Chanda means fierce or passionate, while Munda means shaved head, a sign of withdrawal. These are the two types of behavior of the mind, are thought patterns called chitta vrittis. The outward movement of thought is pravritti and inward is nivritti. When used in a balanced manner, when the mind moves outward, it helps us to interact with the world, and when the mind is quiet and ready to give up the external pleasure, involution of the mind or nivritti helps one to withdraw into the Supreme Self within us. Whereas Chanda and Munda represent these thought patterns in primitive mindsets which are taken over by selfish goals. Chanda represents the mind running behind sensual indulgences, while Munda represents the mind withdrawing inward when hurt by the world outside. When they follow a wrong leader like Shumbha, they represent the passion of desire and the dislike or fear of loss. The Devi, on the other hand, symbolizes the true self within. On seeing her, the mind is fascinated and is attracted to her. This is why Chanda and Munda sing her praises to Shumbha. Meanwhile, Shumbha symbolizes the ego in us. We falsely identify with our individual ego instead of identifying with Devi as our true self. Thus, Chanda and Munda follow the dictates of Shumbha, the ego. They approach even the true self, the Devi, with an attitude of possession. Even the goal of realizing the self is taken as an act of possession for worldly gains. This is shown in their intent to drag Devi by force to Shumbha. The self is revealed only by erasing the thought patterns, and this can only be done by completely changing the mindset. This is symbolized by Kali beheading them. Chanda and Munda signify people who do not use their discriminatory power and will not listen to reason. Wrong logic, conceptions and perceptions prevail in them. Ma Kali beheads these unreasonable minds and provides true knowledge. When the mind is thus diverted towards the true self, The thought patterns now flow in the right path, the path of awareness and discrimination, which can slowly lead towards self-realization. The other Asura, Raktabeeja, represents our latent impressions, the vasanas. Vasana refers to the seed of desires that we accumulate. Therefore, vasanas give birth to more desires. Even when we cut one desire out, many more are born from the vasanas. Even one desire fulfilled will lead to the birth of many more. This ever-growing network of desires is like the constant birth of Raktabeeja. Unless the root cause is totally destroyed, desires will be constantly perpetuated. Ma Kali, drinking each drop of blood the minute it is spilt, signifies the Mother Goddess wiping out desire at its birth itself. She signifies awareness in action. When there is awareness in action, then there is no attachment to the action. Such action becomes free from any residual impressions or vasanas. When the birth of desire itself is curtailed, then the path to liberation is open. Thus, by changing our mindset, moving away from the illusion of the ego, by using discrimination and turning inward towards our true self, we approach Devi. She then blesses us by destroying our desires from the very root and delivers us to liberation. Raktabeeja vadhe Devi, Chanda Munda vinashini, Rupan dehi jayan dehi, Yesho dehi dvisho jahi. This concludes the meaning of verse 6. The fight of Devi with Shumbha and Nishumbha is mentioned in verse 7, which we shall see in the next episode. If you enjoyed this episode, please share with other like-minded persons, friends and family. Thank you for joining me. Hari Om.